Financial topics, trending news, politics all come together here at the Vault.
All right, so you were telling me about this email that you received recently, and that you wanted to jump into this, and obviously you want to talk to Miss Denise over here in Tennessee here as soon as possible. So, but tell me a little bit more about this.
Yeah. So obviously, and this goes to, obviously anybody who watches these videos and wants to be a little bit more informed about any particular subject or topic, feel free to send me an email and I'll try and discuss it as best I possibly can without giving away the farm. Obviously I have to think about compliance and things of that nature, but I always want to help as much as I possibly can. So this is from Denise in Tennessee. Hello, Mr. Bryant. My name is Denise and I work in the healthcare field. I've been watching your videos and to say the least, I really like your presence. You seem to be a delightful person and very knowledgeable. So with that being said, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. Do you work with people outside the state of Florida? If so, I may be interested in moving a portion of my portfolio to you to advise me. I always want to know what other people are doing to be successful investing. As a 47-year-old single mother of two, I want to make sure I give my kids every advantage that I was not able to provide for myself. I do make an excellent living, a travel nurse. I am a 1099 contractor, so I'm blessed enough to control my own schedule. With that being said, I have several old 401ks that are heavily invested in mutual funds. Over the past 3 years, many of my funds did not perform to my expectations. I looked at the S&P 500, and if I had only bought an index fund, I would have fared much better over the past couple of years. I looked at your website, and you seem to do a lot of fee-based business. Could you please elaborate on that a bit so I can have a better understanding of how your fee structure works? First and foremost, Ms. Denise, thank you very, very much for the question and the email. I appreciate the compliments. That is very, very kind of you. To answer your first question, yes, I absolutely work with people outside the state of Florida. Matter of fact, I'd like to send a big old shout out to the new states that I've been registered in this year. So the new clients that I have in California, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. Matter of fact, the Tennessee client that I had has been one on my roster for a bit, but fairly new, within 5 years. So yes, I can absolutely work with you outside the state of Florida. If anybody else who sees these videos, in any other state, doesn't really matter. I can work with you as well. Obviously, we have to keep in mind the amount of assets available to manage. But with that being said, I can also do hourly contract work as well. So if you'd like to speak with me for an hour or two, we can do that, discuss something specific or discuss something holistically, completely up to you. In terms of switching from mutual funds to something else like an indexed fund. Given what I just discussed, right? Here's why I would caution people to be specific about what type of mutual fund, if you're going to invest in a mutual fund, you own, right? Be specific about the actual sector that it's in, and don't just get something that's extremely broad, right? If you want to get something that's extremely broad, you want to do that when you're coming out of recession. Right? That's probably a better time to do it. In an environment to which you need to understand which companies are growing revenues, growing dividends, and actually have, solid balance sheets, you have to be a stock picker. Right? So, and the majority of advisors out there, unfortunately, aren't stock pickers. They're paper pushers who basically take your money and give it to a mutual fund company for them to manage. I don't do that. Buck stops with me. I'm the person who's making all those investments for you. So if you have a specific question about the market or anything related to the market, come directly to me, right? So I'm a lot more accountable than most other people would be, right? But there's a benefit to that, and there's also a negative to that, right? So she asked me a question about fee-based business. Here's kind of how it would work on, let's say, $100,000 investment, right? You have a stated rate of what you are paying as a fee. Let's say in this particular example, it's 1%, right? I have a vested interest to make sure that that money grows, right?
Because 1% is what you make.
Right. So the 1% doesn't change. 1% stays the entire time, right? But let's look at a 5-year period, how it might work out. We really know that the market ebbs and flows, right? So in the first year you made some money, right? So if I did my job and I made you some money, I got a little bit of a pay bump, right? In the years in which there are declines in your value, right? I take a pay cut, right? So I'm hurting just as much as you are, right? And then obviously, if I have to make the right decisions in order to get paid more, right, to grow your money, right? Because again, it's a vested interest in you. So I would much rather, and I think we've talked about this before, would you much rather have somebody who's got skin in the game to make sure that you're getting the results that you want, right? Because we can track that, right? We can figure out whether or not we're actually accomplishing that or not. Or do you want somebody who's just gonna take a quick commission, right? So an example of a mutual fund, Ms. Denise, what your advisor might have done is take 3 to 5% off the top, right? So in year 1, you're actually working off of 97,000 or 96,000, right? As opposed to 100. You know, in my example, your whole 100 stays yours, right? And then I'm doing what I can to make what I can, right? I have a stated strategy that has worked pretty well over the last 10 years. So I'm pretty confident in what it is I can do and how I can grow money. However, not everybody likes to go at the same speed, you know, so you have to be able to diversify to give people that conservative feel that they're looking for, right? But you can still be conservative by buying individual stocks. You know, there are certain stocks that don't move a whole lot, that don't have a lot of volatility, or they don't have a high standard deviation, right? So maybe like a utility company, and give you a good dividend total return in the meantime, right? So you get paid for your risk, right? So that's essentially how I would do it, and that's why I think in this environment, it's better to have individuals like myself to work for you, because mutual funds really just aren't cutting it. You know what I mean? They are not going to be able to keep up with, you know, somebody who's actually a good stock picker. You can't. So, you know, at the end of the day, I would say for Miss Denise, keep doing what you're doing. I would love to work with you, first of all. And number 2, you know, I really feel as if you're going to have a stated goal of wanting to switch from one investment to another, make sure you're clear on what the objective is that you want to accomplish, right? Because if you just want to do this just because you want, you know, instead of making 6, you want to make 12, right? Well, that's kind of trivial, right? So what's the goal that you're going to accomplish with the 12, right? And then once you actually start to really make 12, how are you going to stay there, right? Exactly. So, you know, thinking about those dynamics is very, very important.